Hey,
Uh-oh.
everybody.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Oh, boy, do we have a good guest for y'all tonight on Cryptid Nation. Ooh, wee.
We
This is
do.
going to be something, I'm telling you. Uh, Guys, we have a soldier. His
Mhm.
name is
No,
Will.
you got to call him Marine, Lee. He's a
That's
Marine.
Marine.
right, Marie.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
You would offend that poor man.
Sorry, Will.
That's like calling a piece of bologna a steak,
Oh, no,
I
he
got, you know
didn't.
what? Somebody
Oh,
about 2 weeks
no, he
told me that
didn't.
same thing. Same thing.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Well, this story is unbelievable. And I don't know exactly what he felt. I keep trying to put myself in his position. What would I do? What would I say? And it scares me just to even talk about it. So without, further ado, let's bring Will on, our Marine.
there you go. Hey,
Will,
Will.
thank you
What's
for
going
coming
on, Will?
on.
Hello, hello, good evening.
We're so happy to have you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for telling us your story. I mean, this is some crazy stuff.
For sure, for sure.
Woo wee. Hey, Jeremy. Thank you for watching. We're Southern, so when people pop up like that, we
We
throw our
do
hands
this.
up. So,
Yep.
yeah, just throw your hand up and just keep rolling because that's what we do.
Keep it
Yeah, that's
going.
where it doesn't interrupt you when you're speaking. So it's
Oh,
like, you'll see us do this like during the whole show.
yeah.
Right. If
All
they
right.
have
Gwen
a
and Blaine.
comment, yep, that's her
Yep.
Frenchie.
This is
Oh,
the Frenchie.
Hello,
This is the
Taterhead.
mascot. Yeah, she hears you guys. This is Aunt and Uncle. So
Mm-hmm.
when she hears them, she thinks she's got to hop up here. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tonight's show is scary AF. Oh my God. Hey,
yeah.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Whoo. I don't even know what to make of this. I'll put my own disclaimer up, let it roll twice and take it down. So, Will, you're being a Marine. Have you deployed a lot?
Yes, I have a total of 4 combat deployments. Correct.
Wow, that's a lot.
hmm
That's a lot. And so were they all in country?
3 were to Iraq, and then I deployed to Afghanistan in 2010, somewhere around there. Yeah.
All right. I don't think Marines say MOS. What do they call a?
Yes, correct. We have MOSs.
Oh, you do. So what is your
They
Mm-hmm.
do.
MOS?
I retired as a 0369, which is infantry.
Yep, that's what I. Hey, I had that one.
You
Ah!
got it.
Good job.
This old girl's learning new tricks. Dig of it.
Yep.
Well,
Will,
that's
we were
cool.
we were
So,
both in Afghanistan at the same time. I was at Bagram
Okay. Yeah.
in 2010, 11. Then I went back to Contra 12 and 13.
I was out in the Marja area.
I heard something out there
Been there,
before.
done that. Yeah, we flew in there quite a lot to bring you guys supplies.
Yeah, good, good. Thank you.
Well, just a quick disclaimer besides having to run one. Blaine's house is haunted. My house is haunted. Hey, Jeremy. And Gwen's haunted
And I'm
wherever
on.
she goes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You
So
see that?
I hear stuff. The door tries to open just now. That's what happened. So if I act like that, it is common. It's just weird every time. So just thought I would throw that out there.
All right.
So tonight we are going to talk about his experience. Um, I just can't believe this. What you experienced is basically this. I thought we would call this episode Dog Man in the Desert. And I know it looks funky, but I tried.
That's good.
It's
Okay.
okay, baby.
I tried.
You tried.
It's super scary. So, Blaine, I would love for you to start this off because, you're being in service as well. Because, holy crap, I'm just trying to. This thing scared me. I talked about it for a couple weeks after I read
Yes,
it.
she did, Will.
So, yeah. So here's the question, Blaine. Now however you want to word it.
Okay, walk me through the exact moment where you were, what was the mission, and what made you realize something wasn't right. And if the mission is classified, you don't have to tell us that.
Yeah, you
No.
can't. Yeah.
We had taken a camp. We had moved into a couple of houses. That's how we did it in the Marine Corps Infantry. We don't live on bases or FOBs or anything like that. We're out in the towns, doing stuff. So it was kind of seldom that we were in an actual base. So we took up residence it was actually an old school and the house next door, and we kind of just fortify it, and that's where we lived. And it was in a town several miles south of Haditha, a little village called Barwana. And we were there for several months, and we would run constant patrols. So we would run, 3, 4, 5, 6 patrols per day. I was a platoon sergeant at the time, so I had 3 squads underneath me, and I would schedule their operations. And it was mostly, running security patrols, stuff like that, just to get out in town, see if anything was going on, see if we could find any bad guys, so to speak. So we would have, like I said, 3, 4, 5, 6 patrols per day, just whatever that schedule worked out. And we weren't doing anything classified, anything like that. It was just boots on the ground, walking through these villages, talking to people, kind of get the lay of the land, trying to meet people, get their trust, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just making sure we didn't overrun OPSEC.
No,
That's
no.
operational security for you civilian people.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we were just running patrols on a
Okay.
constant
That's
basis.
good.
Uh,
All right.
the whole story starts. I was in the building. Like I said, we had taken up residence in an old schoolhouse, and I was in that building, and I heard people talking loudly. And Blaine, I know you can back me up on this. That in some cultures, just the way people talk, you think that they're arguing because
Yeah, exactly.
they're very animated, they're very loud, and of course you don't know what they're saying, so you kind of open your ear and you say, what's going on over there. So that's what was happening, and I didn't know that they weren't arguing. I just heard some loud voices coming from the gate area. So I got my rifle and walked out there just to go kind of investigate, see what's going on. Our translator was out there, and he was talking to 2 local men, and the talk was pretty animated. They were voices were a bit loud, and so I go over and I ask the translator, what's going on, and he's like, don't worry about it, and I'm like, well, it's kind of my job to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of like embarrassed. He's kind of like, these guys are crazy, whatever. And I'm like, well, tell me what's going on. Just, put me at ease so I know, we're not about to get attacked or something. And then, as long as I'm satisfied knowing that, then, I can go away. And so he's kind of hesitant, but not in a, you're about to be attacked kind of way, just in a kind of like, this is too dumb to tell you. And of course, I pry and I'm like, tell me what's going on. If it's dumb, oh well, I'll go back inside.
Yeah.
So he says that that these 2 guys, they're local to that town, and there's a wolfman who's been coming into their property. It's killed a couple of their sheep. Has kind of lunged at them and their children, and I'm thinking in translation, it's lost that they're not saying wolf man, that they're saying wolf or dog, because there's a lot of stray dogs out, all over.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe just lost in translation, that it's not getting to my ears, the right way.
Right.
And so I asked him, I said, do they mean a dog? Like there's stray dogs, And the translator, he's kind of like, doing the whole, he's just embarrassed that this is even a thing. And so he says, no, they're not talking about a dog. They're talking about a wolf man. And so I'm still confused, that thinking that it's lost in translation, that there's either a stray dog or dogs or something that is coming to their property. And so I asked him, do you mean dog or do you mean wolf? And he says, no, they're saying a wolf man. So now I'm getting really interested. And I ask him, so at this point, I kind of abandoned the whole it's a dog thing. And my mind is that it's a wolf. So I ask him, are there wolves here in Iraq? And everybody agrees, yes, there are wolves, but not in this area. They're way on the other side, up in the mountains. There are no wolves here, but there is a wolf man. And so I'm still like, no, there's no wolf man. It's something else. And they came to tell us that they're pretty fed up with it, and they wanted to, if they needed to, shoot at it. But they didn't want us to think that they were shooting at us. Obviously, if somebody's shooting at something, we're going to go investigate.
Of course.
Yeah.
So they didn't. So they wanted to let us know, hey, we're not shooting at you. We're shooting at this wolf man. And so at this point, I'm really interested in what the story is. And so I get through the translator, they tell me the story. And it really is that there's this big, hairy wolf man standing up on two legs. It's killed several of their sheep, has taken them, ran off with them in the desert. They find them later that are, half eaten, torn to shreds. It has lunged at a couple of the kids, and they're just scared of this thing. And I'm like, I still don't believe that this is going on. I think they're mistaken. There's 100 other logical reasons that something crazy is happening like this. And so I tell them, look, if you need to protect your children, especially, protect your sheep, go ahead. Do whatever you got to do to protect yourself, your animals, your children. I said, I totally understand. We're not going to drop bombs on you just because, you shoot something.
Right.
And so they're pretty happy with that. So then I ask them, is it okay if we come on our patrol? Because I kind of figured out what house they were talking about. I said, is it okay if we come, when we're on a patrol and stop by your house just to see how things are? Just kind of more because I was really curious about what was going on.
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, stop, and they happen to live at a house that overlooked part of the river where there was a bridge. And we would watch that bridge, making sure nobody, was, putting bombs on it, IEDs, stuff like that. So they leave, and I'm talking to the translator, and I asked him about this dog man. And our translator is pretty young. He was probably mid-20s. The other two men were much old, not much older, but they were probably in their 50s, early 60s. And he says, yes, that the older generation, they believe in these supernatural creatures, but he says it's all, superstitions, and it's just something that you tell the kids, the whole boogeyman thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, but I'm still really interested.
Hell yeah.
So, and like I said, he's kind of embarrassed. He's kind of like, he's kind of upset that he's wasting my time because he doesn't want us to think that they're just a bunch of crazy people over there. So, okay, a couple days pass by. I jump in on one of the patrols, and we're walking around, in the middle of the night. And it wasn't real late. It was probably, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. And I remember, hey, let's stop at these guys' house. So we went there and we, knocked on the door. I recognized the man who lived there, and I asked him if we could come in. And he said, sure, come on in. And so at this point, there's no translator. It's just me and him. So, you kind of communicate as best as you can. So he lets us in his compound, and we go up on the roof because when we would go, make visits like that, we would basically go up on the roof so that we can see everything that's happening around. We have, a good view, especially of the river, the bridges, main intersections, stuff like that. So we go up there, and there was probably 8 of us. I think I had taken out 2 teams that day, plus me, so I was probably number 9. And we had went up on the roof, and we were watching that bridge, and just hanging out, just watching stuff, seeing if there was any movement, anybody doing stuff that they shouldn't have been doing. And so we weren't up there very long, maybe half an hour, when that gentleman came up, and he's very excited, and he's telling me to follow him. I figure out that he wants me to come with him, and he's talking very fast. I don't know what he's saying, but I know that there's some excitement going on. So I grab 2 more Marines, and I tell them to come with us. So we go down the stairs, walk through his house, come out on the other side of the house where his sheep are, where the corrals are. And he opens the back door, and we kind of huddle up at the door, and he's pointing and he's talking this and that. Like I said, I don't know what he's saying because there's no translator, but he's pointing and everything. And I'm like, what is he trying to show me? I don't see anything out there. I see a bunch of sheep. And so we're just watching. We're just looking that way. And then that's when I noticed there's a big, what I thought was a dog. It was a canine type creature, down on all fours. It looked big, but it wasn't, this humongous, T-Rex size thing. It was just, a really big dog. And so I'm looking at it, and at first I truly thought that it was, one of his dogs, because it was on his property. It was right there. It wasn't doing anything. And so we're just kind of staring at it. And then it starts to move, and it's moving from our left to the right. And as in the corrals, there's just walls, there's fences, there's just stuff out there. So we kind of lose sight of it every time it goes behind a wall, a fence, or whatever's out there. As it's moving, though, I can hear that bone cracking, something shifting. I don't know how to explain it. Just something, an unnatural sound, like definitely not something you want to hear your body doing. It was just like a cracking, popping bone socket thing. But I still don't think anything's going on. I'm just like, there's some weird sound coming over there from where that dog is. And the guy, he's sitting right behind me, and he's trying to communicate to me that there it is, that's what I've been telling you about. So I kind of get that, but it's still just this big dog. As it's walking, it makes that popping sound. Finally, when it gets to the far right of the corrals. Oh, and by this time the sheep are not happy. They're
I'm
they're
sure.
they're loud. They're trying to huddle up on the other side. They're making noises. They're very much not happy. So this creature gets to the right side of the corrals, and it's it's weird that being scientific minded, you know that something of a certain mass cannot just magically grow mass, But by the time it got to the right side, it was like twice as big. It was already a big dog, but now it's just bigger. And I don't understand what that was because, like I said, I'm thinking scientifically, I'm thinking logically, just common sense. You can't add that much mass to something, without an outside, influence coming in. So now it's like twice as big, and it stands up. And that's when I'm like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. I honestly, I said,
Sure.
I'm waiting for whatever that is to like start laughing because I'm thinking it's a prank. It's some, something that's not a dog man.
Right.
But it's standing up, and now it's like it's got to be 7 feet tall.
Holy crap.
The houses over there, they all have these big, basically adobe walls around them that are 6 feet high, 6 feet ish. So this thing was higher than the fence.
Ooh wee.
And so, but I'm still not. Like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. It just, it can't exist. That thing does not exist. It does not exist in this world. But I'm looking at it, and now, and I'm not scared or anything because I don't know what it is. I'm like, I can't figure out what the logical explanation for this is. So at this point, I'm just confused of, what is this thing? And I'm just waiting for the conclusion to happen for, some guy to jump out who's wearing, some crazy Halloween costume or something. So I turned to the two other Marines that I had with me, and I asked them, I said, what do y'all see? And they're like, and their eyes are like this big, I'm sure mine were too. And we are all in agreement that, 30 seconds ago, it was a dog that turned into this bigger dog who is now standing up on 2 legs. And we're just like we don't want to admit it to each other because then it becomes true. If we just each have this thought, then, then each of us is just crazy in a different way. But once you say, yes, I see what it is, then you got to ask, okay, then what is that? So we're just kind of looking at each other and looking back at this thing. And it just stood there. It had to have been 7, 8 feet tall. And it was a werewolf, just like in the movies.
Oh Lord.
If you've seen that movie, Dog Soldiers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what it was. Just this huge wolf thing, and it was kind of, I could hear it a real low, growling, but I wouldn't even call it a growling. It was like just a weird, vocalization, and it was real low. It was almost like, could you hear it? Maybe not. And like you had to like, okay, am I hearing what I'm hearing? But I could feel it. because it was just a real low rumble. And it, and like I said, the sheep were not happy. The guy who lived at the house, he kind of had this look on his face like, I told you so. He was happy. I think that it was that someone else saw it and that somebody else could say, yes, I believe you. But me and the two other Marines, we were just like looking at each other and we're just kind of like, yes, I see what you see, but I'm not going to say it, and we just stood there looking at it. It didn't really threaten us. It was more like it was ready to defend itself if we got closer. I felt like it was it wasn't going to do anything unless we did. Like it was like, you stay over there, I'll stay over here, and everything's good. But we looked, and so this is going on for like a minute now. That the thing's just standing there. It's just, growling. The sheep are making all kinds of noise. The guy behind me, who owns the house, he's just really happy that someone else has seen this thing. And I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's a man. Like I said, it could have been a guy, in a costume. If we would have shot at it, we would have killed an innocent person, playing this prank, which is not a threat to us. But it was so illogical. I couldn't identify what it was. Like, I couldn't shoot at this creature that doesn't exist. Even though I'm looking at it, werewolves, dogmen, Bigfoot, they don't exist. But I was looking at it. So I didn't, and it wasn't threatening us. It wasn't coming at us. It was just kind of standing there. So, I didn't want to shoot at it because I didn't know what it was. We're trained to identify our target, have a positive identification of what our target is. And if we don't have that positive identification, then we don't pull the trigger. So there is no way I had a positive identification on this thing because it should not exist. And like, so I was really almost half wishing that it was a prank, that somebody was going to jump out and be like, oh, gotcha. But it didn't. And the vocalizations that it was making cannot come from a human. I don't think that the human range of sound could be that low, because it was just really low, like a rumbling, just that really bass, deep, low growl that you could almost feel.
Was it almost like guttural?
Yeah. It's just, it wasn't really it wasn't growling like a dog growls. It was just like making a sound to make sure we knew it was there. And it definitely came from somewhere deep inside this animal. And I could feel it, I could hear it, but it was just, like I said, it was just standing there. And I'm going back and forth, looking at this guy, looking at this guy, looking at this one, wondering what is going on. And then it kind of put one hand, paw, whatever it is, that I couldn't see it real well, but it had a huge hand, a huge paw, but it didn't look like a dog's paw. It looked like a hand, just really long, probably twice as big as my hand. I could see it, and it kind of put its hand on the on the fence, and it kind of pushed, the fence, pushed itself up and just jumped over this fence that was, easily 6 foot.
Mhm.
It jumped over, and I'm still just in shock, and we could hear it running off. It was loud. It wasn't trying to be quiet. It wasn't sneaking around. It jumped that fence and it ran, and it was definitely running on 2 feet. And so we're still like looking at each other like, did that really just happen? And we're kind of like, yeah, but let's not tell anybody. And so we just kind of like, looked at the homeowner, and he's like, has this big grin because he is, justified in what he has seen. And I went back through the house, went back up to where the other Marines were. They didn't see anything because we were on opposite sides of the house. They were looking out toward the river where that bridge was, and this happened on the other side. So I kind of sat there and kind of came off that adrenaline rush, and then I picked everybody up and we went back to our house where we were staying. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. We actually left there a couple of weeks later, and I don't think I went back. We just didn't have time trying to break everything down, turning our position over. I don't think I went on any other patrols, at least not in that area. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
And like I said, I wasn't scared. And I didn't think that I should engage this creature just because I didn't know what it was. And I've told this story to a couple other people, and they always say, why didn't you shoot it? I didn't shoot it because I didn't know what it was. I didn't have that positive identification on, it. I would have hated to have shot it, and it was someone playing a prank, an innocent person, and we don't want to do that. So I didn't do anything. I just sat there and looked at it. But at no time did I feel threatened. It was just kind of like, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. It didn't lunge at us. It was just there. And then it jumped that fence and it took off. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's an experience, Will.
It was the highlight of that deployment.
Yeah, my gym was my highlight of mine. And I just thought about something. That poster you have behind you, that picture.
Yeah.
When I filmed for Monster Quest, that exact picture is on my episode.
Oh yeah, it is. That's right.
Because I was like, the flameless fire, that's where they were created from, a flameless fire. And if you go back to biblical times, the burning bush that Noah saw was a flameless fire.
Oh, wow. Crazy stuff out there.
So the three of us, Gwen, Blaine, and myself, we filmed with the reboot of Monster Quest. So if you like the History Channel, if you've got Roku, you can download the app download the app for the History Channel, and then you can watch it. This is the 5th season, but it actually stopped being filmed in 2010. So they've rebooted it. So
yeah, good. I used to watch that all the time.
but that was the inspiration
Did I?
for us
Yep.
to start this. Yeah, me too. And I love Leonard Nimoy's stuff and Marlon Perkins. My dad actually did some things with Marlon Perkins, and I saw a commercial about him today, and it made me think about the podcast today. I got nervous, right away. Oh, and I made this one for the episode too.
Oh, wow.
The Wolfman of Hadithah, the terror in the Iraqi village. So, I wanted you to see a couple of pictures, or not so much the pictures, but the information. Um, this is a person. This came off of Amazon Music podcast, and he's a witness. His family was born um, in the Middle East, in Jordan, but he was born in the United States, in Boston, and lived here till he was about 5. But then he went back with his family for a few years and then came back. And during his time in Jordan, his family owned an olive farm. He was out helping. He was between 10 and 11 years old, and he heard that deep growl you were talking about. And he saw a figure that stood up approximately 10 foot, upright, but was canine-like, and it walked on 2 legs. So I've
Yeah.
left this up so that you could see the link, what's
Yeah.
underlined at the bottom. For those of you watching, if you'd like to maybe stop and take a quick picture of that slide, because if you type that in, it'll take you to the YouTube podcast so that you can hear about that episode. Okay, and then here's this one. This one's in Afghanistan. He was a contractor, Adam Waller, and he reported this in 2023, right after his deployment. And he was in Afghanistan on base, and he said he was walking alone at night, and then he realized he was being followed. God help me. That is not it. I would not do well. Anyway, he described a dog man type entity or a lichen. And he tells this story first person point of view in a podcast. He was not a local citizen, but he was one of the few named firsthand witnesses that is tied to that region. And that's on Apple Music Podcast. So it's Adam Waller. I tried to get things that were near there
Yeah.
that was recently seen. So maybe it'd make you feel better that there are others out there.
The one from Adam Waller, was that on the base, or was it outside the wire? Do you know?
I don't know, but I will look it up. Now
Yeah,
that I have a mission, I accept that mission and I will look it up.
that's
Check,
crazy.
check this one out. This is in Iraq, and he was a soldier, and this was in 2000s during the Iraqi war era, and he saw a wolfman killing sheep. Very similar, and I wonder if this was your wolf that somebody else experienced.
It could be if it was near the Haditha area.
That's what it says, near Haditha.
Yeah, because we were south of there, but that was like the big landmark where that everybody knows.
Well, this is on Apple Music Podcast, okay, and then this one. And all of these are, like I said, in the Middle East. I didn't try to do anything here. This one's Jordan. El Khatib, and he was the person giving his testimony or witness account. A family aware of something large moving around livestock at night. They heard growling, they felt a presence, and then they started seeing the animals in their farm trying to get away from something, trying to elude something.
That's basically the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is 4. I tried to find 10, but that's all I could find. But I thought maybe that would make you feel better that somebody else did experience it, so they could collaborate your story.
Yeah, it's basically very similar. It is that dogman creature, taking livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then something else. So this is a 3,000-year-old. We're talking about the civilization like Egypt and Mesopotamia, and they had human-animal hybrids. They had the jackal-headed being like Anubis,
Mm-hmm.
and they have stories of shape-shifting spirits tied to jinn. Now, I know these aren't sightings, but these ideas have, it's been for millennia that these stories have existed. And then we start looking at hyena men, and I believe when we were waiting to go on air, you mentioned this. But this is the closest historical parallel to werewolf concepts in the region. Man, I would love to see it, but I wouldn't want to see it. It's kind of like, oh my gosh. And then this one is the modern era. So I just thought I would pop that out.
Yeah,
Now, you were
I
talking
don't think
about
it's real.
dog soldiers, is what you said, the movie?
Correct. Yeah, it's a really good movie. I actually saw that movie right before I went on that deployment, I think, or maybe right after, because somebody was telling me about it, and I had never heard of it, and now it's become one of my favorite movies because it's a really good movie, and that's pretty much what I saw.
Holy crap,
Oh,
dude.
Lord.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
it
trying to
was
find a picture.
it was quite interesting. And like I said, if I would have just seen it by myself, we're always sleep deprived. We're always not just coming off a nap because we were always doing stuff. If it would have been just me there seeing it, I would have convinced myself that I was just hallucinating, that my mind was playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine with that. I would have been like, I need to get some sleep. But there was other people with me, and they all, corroborated what I saw. Yeah.
So, what is one memory you can look back at with all of this that you think of whenever your mind kind of goes back to it? What is the one thing that happens first in your head?
From this incident,
Yeah, I don't know if it was the guy at your base flipping out, or the guy looking at you saying, "I told you so,"
it,
or
it,
that thing
it,
standing up,
it really was me turning to the two other Marines I had with me, and we all kind of said, yeah, we're looking at the same thing. Because that's when it became real. His story prior, it was just, somebody that didn't understand what he was seeing, that it was just a dog or a wolf or something. So I still didn't believe what he was saying that he saw. So it wasn't real to me until and even when I saw it with my own two eyes, it was not real to me because that doesn't exist. It wasn't until I looked at the other two Marines and they said, yes, we're seeing the same thing. That's what I think of from the story of that moment when I had to believe what I was seeing. That
Yeah.
I couldn't just convince myself that it was a trick of the light. It wasn't my mind being tired. It wasn't somebody playing a prank. It wasn't just something not real. It was when the other two Marines, we all agreed that what we were watching was real, and that's what my mind goes back to, because until then it wasn't real. But once somebody said yes, we all see it, it became real at that point. And I
Bill,
could,
was you wondering you have to go get you some BCGs, some birth control glasses, to make sure you saw what you saw?
and, and that's the thing, is that I didn't know what to do. What can I do to prove to myself that it's real? And I wish we had cameras back then. We
Dude.
but it didn't
I'm so
exist.
glad we didn't.
Yeah.
My
It,
childhood.
it,
Oh,
it
Lord.
didn't.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. It didn't exist even when I was looking at it until the other two Marines agreed. We all agreed that yes, that's what we're looking at, and that's when my mind goes back to of. That's when it became real.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Oof.
Hey, Gwen, I got you a question for him.
Oh, glasses, because can't see.
Hmm.
I said, did it carry weight like a human or move like something built for speed? And when it moved, was it smooth, jerky, controlled, or just something else?
It moved. Once it jumped the fence, we could tell that it was running fast. So it was something fast. There was speed behind it. It didn't move a lot once it stood up. It just kind of stood there, against that wall.
Mhm.
But from what I could tell, it was something that had power behind it, something whose movements uh, were intentional. They it didn't seem like a human that had turned into something and doesn't know how to use its own body.
Yeah.
It wasn't choppy. It wasn't something trying to get used to its own movements. It
Right.
was, very deliberate, smooth movements. We've all been in our bodies for however long. We know how they work. We know how they
Sure.
move. It wasn't like putting on this big elaborate costume and not knowing exactly how it moves. It was definitely uh, comfortable in its own body, and
Oh, wow.
it wasn't something new to itself. It wasn't like somebody had just turned into a werewolf that day and was still trying to get used to its new muscles and its new skeletal frame and all that stuff. It was something that was definitely comfortable in its own body. Yeah.
Wow. So it wasn't a baby giraffe. It was streamlined and
Exactly. That whole baby giraffe where it's wobbly, it doesn't know what to do. It was total opposite of that. It was very smooth, deliberate movements. And when it did run off, well, I guess evident by its jumping over that wall, that if you were in this big costume that made you, 8 feet tall, you're not going to be able to jump over a wall just because you're not used to that weight, the way that the costume moves. It definitely had jumped over walls before,
Right.
and it definitely had that natural movement.
Will, do you think this thing was ancient or was it new?
That individual itself, I have no idea, but I know that from talking to the translator, he confirmed that these stories are old, that the older generation believes in these creatures because they've been around for thousands of years.
Okay.
I'm assuming from what he meant is that the younger generation kind of waves it off as just superstition and stuff like that. But from my understanding, that it is a well-known folklore, at least.
so I know you faced real threats being a combat veteran. Where does this situation rank compared to your combat experiences?
It's two different experiences. In that, I've been in firefights, and I know that there's a direct threat coming from this direction, and I know what that threat is. Somebody's
Right.
pointing a gun at you. You know that there's a gun pointed at you, and it's going to fire a bullet that's going to hit you. This thing was, it's like I knew that if I went over there, and punched it in the face, that it was not going to be good for me. But I didn't
Yeah.
feel threatened. Like I said earlier, it was more like, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. Our paths don't need to cross. So I didn't feel like I was in danger the same way I felt danger in a firefight.
Exactly.
Two different dangers. Yeah.
Blaine, this one's definitely your question.
If that thing had charged you, would you have engaged or hesitated? Do you believe your weapon would actually stop it?
If we were trained that if whatever the threat is, whatever that danger is, if it becomes closer, if it comes closer to you, if you know it's a threat, or if you feel threatened, yes, shoot at it. Even if it turns out to have not been a threat, right then and there, yes, we are defending ourselves. I was carrying an M4, which fires
Exactly.
a 5.56. It's a relatively small round. The size of this animal, I would have to have shot it a whole bunch of times. I think if I would have shot it once or twice, it probably wouldn't have stopped it. I had two other Marines with me. If we would have all fired at it and kept on firing at it, we could have dropped it. It would have just taken several trigger pulls for that to happen. Just that, the size of that round is not made for large game, so to speak. It would have taken, several shots at it.
And see, my thought process would be, okay, if I shoot this damn thing, and my thought process is, if I shoot this damn thing, it keeps coming at me, the bullets ain't doing nothing to it. It's like, what do we do now?
Exactly. And I've had that thought too, that if I shoot at it, or if I would have shot at it and there would have been no effect, what do we do then? Because we didn't have, larger
Caliber,
rifles with us. We're a just an infantry squad, and we're all carrying everything that we fire is 5.56.
Sure.
Right.
If we'd have had a tank, and LAV, something big, sure.
Apache.
Apache. But
tank, so it's not
what
on
if
the
my next step would have been called an airstrike.
Yeah. I've been in firefights where we had tanks, and for some reason all the insurgents want to shoot at tanks, but their rifles aren't going to do anything to the tank. All it does is draw attention.
Mm-hmm.
So the tank commander turns to them and fires. That would have been the same thing, that if that 5.56 that I had in my rifle wouldn't have stopped it, what was I going to do then? You know what I mean? I highly doubt I could have outran it.
You successfully pissed it off, is what it was.
And that's what it was, that we would have just made it mad, if it didn't work. But like I said, no time did I feel that was going to happen, just because it stayed that far away.
I'm glad it did, bro.
Stood up. Yeah, that it just stood up and went over the fence. It's a little bit tame, a little bit. Like it's just gonna do what it does.
I don't know why it didn't do anything. Up to this point, as far as I know, it had not actually attacked any people. It had kind of lunged at a couple of the kids, more to, I guess, just scare them away. But it was after the sheep.
I was going to say, we're not part of his food group.
Yeah, but I definitely think that if I'd have walked up to it, it would have, it would have won.
Did you say anything to it? Sorry, Blaine.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Gwen.
Say it again, Gwen.
Did you say anything, to it?
No, we were all kind of just, I didn't yell at it, anything. I was more just like looking at the other Marines, because even if I wanted to say something to it, I wouldn't have known what,
True.
It was just so alien that I
would have been frozen, just pop. That's it. I couldn't have said anything.
I just didn't know what I would have, even sitting here now in the safety of my own home, I have no idea what I would have said.
You can think of all kinds of things now, though, right?
Yeah. But even then,
when you were there,
if I think about it now, I have no idea what I would have, what should I have said? Hi, what's your name?
I probably would have said, hey, just because I'm goofy like that. I'd been like,
just don't say here, kitty, kitty,
No. That's what they Gwen. Come here, puppy.
That is definitely me.
I wouldn't have known what to say to it.
Dude, I can imagine.
It was just a very weird experience.
All right.
Yeah.
You said the one memory you have is looking at your battles and going, "Did you see what I saw?" And they're all like, "Yes, we did."
Yeah.
So after that, did anybody laugh it off, or did they go dead quiet? You know, what was immediately said, or do you remember?
We just kind of all, you know, when you look at someone and you don't have to say anything, you look in their eyes
Yep.
and you see
Yep.
that they agree with you. That's kind of what happened.
That,
Are
that's the way
you
the
seeing
three of
this?
us are.
Everybody's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
we see it.
And it ran off, and we were just kind of like, it was like we didn't want to speak of it because it would have added another layer to its reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
to put it out there in the universe.
Yeah.
That,
Exactly.
if we just all, I know that you agree, we all say the same thing. We don't need to say anything,
There you go.
These
because it
guys
would have
dealt with
added,
this.
it would have just been more real.
Yep.
And so we just kind of, all right, we saw
What
it,
do you,
let's get going.
what do you do with that, right? What do you do with that?
And
What's
that's
for
the thing
dinner?
too.
Yeah.
Okay, Blaine.
Say, who was the Bill?
It was,
You know,
I think you stop there. Um,
was it one of your guys? You?
I don't think
Was it
any of us were really scared. It was more just disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
we didn't feel that we were threatened. There was no danger. It was just more like, did you see that? And we all agreed to it. None of us really felt scared. It was just disbelief. And then all of a sudden, now I believe it.
Yeah.
So none of us were really scared. We weren't shaken. It was like this thing doesn't exist, and now it does, and we're just like, huh, okay, it exists, and we just kind of, kept it to ourselves. And
That's what I would have
we
done.
were,
Well,
definitely, I knew that it could be a threat, but I at that time right there, I honestly don't remember being scared. I just remember being in shock.
That would have done it for me.
Yeah.
All right, so I found a picture of dog soldiers, and it's just a drawing kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But you see the face there. Did that thing snarled at you like that?
It didn't really snarl. It was just like it was this natural resting sound. Like it didn't do like a dog. You know how you walk, down your neighborhood and there's a scary dog, and it's growling and barking, being aggressive. It wasn't doing that. It was just, it was just there, and it was just making a sound, very, very guttural, deep inside it, just very low. And I don't want to use the word growl, but I don't have a better word for it. But it was just making that vocalization, coming from somewhere deep inside it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of pictures, and we've got a few moments left. These are some pictures that people have submitted online that believe that these may be dogmen, wolfman type thing. This one on the left is a skinny something riding a hog.
Yeah.
That's a mess. What is? No.
But it's I don't know. But it's got eye shine. So I don't know. But
That's
it was
crazy.
interesting. Yep, here's another one. Now what is happening here?
So I've seen that picture before.
Huh.
That's Wolfman Yoga.
Yeah, I've seen that picture
I don't
before.
know.
I've seen it before in the context that someone said it was a Bigfoot,
Oh, really?
but
I wouldn't think that was a Bigfoot, but that's my opinion. That's all.
yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
I've seen this one. This was in Texas, I believe.
I've seen that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that is very kind of similar to what I saw.
Okay.
Very how you can see that has like a mane almost,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that long hair, on its neck and the back of its head. Very tall legs. His legs were very long. That's more of what I saw right there.
That thing looks like it's holding something. Or is that a tail? I
I
can't tell.
can't tell. It looks like the left hand might be holding something, or it could be a tail. What the frick?
This is that's from the same, see it says Sky Point Flex
Oh,
on
wow.
there. This is
Huh.
from the same, not the same day footage, because this other one says it's 51 degrees Fahrenheit, and this one says that it's 23 degrees. So, but it's in the same area, same property.
Oh
Wow.
Lord, scared me.
I just thought I'd show those to you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pretty interesting.
That's weird. Yeah.
Bigfoot yoga.
I don't know what that was.
And that's a new meaning for dog were down, isn't it?
Maybe that's where they got it from.
Like,
So how can people reach you if they have any questions? Will?
They can email me. They can, they can find me on Facebook, or they can email me. My email address is bustoswj@yahoo. I'm always happy to discuss it and answer questions, and I'm really happy to hear other people's experiences. And I've grown up hearing all these stories, and that's kind of, I've always been interested in paranormal, supernatural, cryptids, stuff like that. So I'm always really interested in hearing other people's stories.
That's good. Your story was amazing, dude.
mhm.
Yes.
Thank
Amazing.
you so much.
Because I know being over there, dude, you're worried about, okay, is this guy going to shoot me? Am I going to get ambushed? If I get rocket attacked, I get mortar attacked, and you see a creature that your brain's going, what am I looking at? Because the same with my gin, dude. I saw it come out of the wall. I'm like, what in the world is this damn thing? And it was huge.
And it's a weird thing that we're trained to be vigilant against flesh and blood humans
Thank you.
that want to cause you harm, and we train for that, and we know what to do if this happens or that happens, or
Sure.
whatever. What do you do when this thing that doesn't exist happens? There's no training
Good
for that.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was like when I
Really
just
good
wrote about
question.
that episode in my book, and I was like, yeah, there was no Air Force training guide on how to defend yourself against a gin.
Mm-mm.
And you can't tell nobody that what you saw.
It's weird. It's I think back now and I say, why didn't I tell everybody? Why didn't I make this big deal of it? Because I wasn't crazy. I saw what I saw. Other people saw it, but it was more just like, okay, I know it exists. I saw it. There's no reason to rile everybody up.
Sure.
And then there's always going to be people who look at you and say, yeah, this guy's a little crazy, too much stress, and especially being, a career military person,
Right.
that can affect you later on.
Sure.
That's right.
If you try to re-enlist and this thing is in your record book,
In your packet. Yeah.
that,
They'll
it
bed you
just-
out quick.
Yeah,
Let's
you don't
be
need-
honest.
you don't need that incident to
No,
exist.
no, you don't.
You tell,
It's just like you don't tell them when you're active duty that you got sleep apnea because they'll put you out and you just wasted your whole career.
yeah.
So I'm not going to tell them, hey, I saw a gin. This guy saw a wolf man. I'm not wanting that in my jacket.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it just, I saw what I saw. Since people with me saw the same thing, I didn't want didn't want to turn it into something it didn't need to become.
No.
I understand. Don't escalate it.
Mm-mm.
Plus, you're already under enough stress as it is.
And
It's like you don't want to add to that.
I don't think I told anybody that story until after I retired.
That's
So
what
the
I'm
rest of the time that I was
waited
in,
until I retired to tell it.
yeah, I don't think I told anybody that story. At least not military people,
Right.
until after, until I was done.
Since you've come out and told your story, the guys that were with you and witnessed the same thing, have you talked to them about it?
I have not talked to them. I've lost track. Being there for so long, each unit, you kind of lose track of the people. You move to a new unit.
Yep.
You have new people. You lose track of them. If I sat down with the roster of who was with me that night, I could probably figure out who was actually there and saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly don't even remember who the other two Marines were.
If you could go back to that area and do a proper investigation, would you go?
Oh, absolutely. I would,
Yeah.
for a couple of different reasons. One, just to see, just to convince myself that I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
If you see it again, but there's something there. Those stories have been around for a long time. There's locals who have their own stories.
Yes.
I would definitely be interested in going back and trying to, get it on video, something just to, prove that it's real.
We are so honored you came on and told your story.
Thank you, Will.
Thank
Will,
you.
you know what I
Thank
want to do? I want to go Google Earth and go to that area and see if you can pick it up from satellite.
And
Maybe
who
we
knows
can
what it
do
is?
that.
I don't know that if it was an animal, was it a person? I have no idea.
A little
it could have
of
been someone local. It could have been, that guy's neighbor for all I know. But there's no way to know unless we capture this thing and see what it is.
Unless that dude was a gymnast or something at one time, but
and yeah,
I can go over the wall. It's like
it jumped that wall. It did not struggle. It didn't climb up it. It just put its hand on there and kind of just hopped over it.
And it went from
very
being
little
little
effort.
to big.
And
It went from being small to big. So yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
Will, you know as well as I do, brother, there ain't no costume shops over there in Iraq that I ever saw.
and if it would have been someone in a costume, think of the risk that they were taking.
Mm-hmm.
You got what, 9 Marines in that general vicinity?
Yeah. So we had enough rifles to hurt people. Obviously.
Exactly.
So the risk that you would take for a prank is just too big.
It's like these idiots here in the South that'll dress up in a costume and go out in the woods. We got guns here, stupid, and we will shoot you.
Yeah. I grew up in Texas, so there was always guns around, and
sure.
I've heard stories from back then, and that kind of was kind of piqued my interest in all these things that I heard stories, since I was a kid of Bigfoot, all kinds of supernatural stuff, cryptids. Yeah.
I mean, there's.
You could not have hurt that thing with a rifle because it would have known what that was.
And I've had that thought too.
It didn't seem phased. It wasn't phased.
I've had that thought that did it know that we were carrying rifles, and maybe that's why it didn't come toward us. Because even if we wouldn't have killed it, nobody wants to get shot. So I wonder if it had the thought capacity of, I don't want to go near these people because I know what rifles are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
I mean, they've been shooting at each other over there for centuries. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it knew about weapons. It
Yeah,
just
so
knows what they'll do.
yeah, so even if it was 100% animal, it, you know, I'm assuming that it has some animal instincts in that if I go that way, something bad can happen to me. You know, so maybe that's why it didn't come toward us. You know, that's why it jumped the fence, you know, ran away. Uh, but I have no idea. You know, I don't think we'll ever know.
But if you get that experience, you can tell your grandkids one day, man.
I've told this story a few times here and there, and it always gets a pretty good reaction. But it was definitely something that I have that story, and it's like I know that there is other stuff out there besides humans. You know, there's other unknown, wild, you know, whatever creatures out there. You know, and that it's kind of scary to think that this creature is out there, but it's also, to me, it I'm glad that they're out there because there's still some wilderness, still some unknown stuff for us to discover.
Right on, man.
Oh, isn't that a nice way of putting it?
That's pretty cool. Will, man, you have been awesome, brother.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, thank y'all for having me on. You know, I love telling the story. You know, and I have several other stories, not as good as this one, but yeah, I always
Have to have you back.
I always love telling the
Definitely.
stories, and I love hearing other people's stories because there's just so much out there that we don't know. You know, and it's fun to hear stories. It's fun to be scared and, you know, a little bit creeped out.
Yep.
That's true.
Thank you so much. Gwen, take us out.
Wait. You're not gonna say it.
Blaine's got to do his thing.
I gotta do my thing. This is my tagline.
There you go.
You guys had 1,000 choices for your entertainment tonight. You chose us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen, brother.
Have a good night.
Tonight, the Wolfman of Haditha, Terror in the Iraqi Village with
We'll hang out a couple minutes after we go off, and we'll come personally thank you after show.
Yep.
Thank
All right,
you.
here we go. Good night, everybody.